Today's Broncos mock draft was first posted on our Broncos breakdown channel here at Chat Sports. So if you like the Broncos and you want more Broncos specific content, I invite you to go ahead and subscribe youtube.com/Broncos TV or just search Broncos breakdown. But for now, enjoy our mock draft. Mock draft time here on the Broncos breakdown. The first big wave of NFL free agency is over. Jerry Jeudy has been traded. So it felt like we were a little bit overdue even to go through a brand new mock draft now that Denver's got some new picks to work with. So let's remind everyone of the picks Denver has as of right now for 2024's draft. A first, a third, a fourth, 3 fifth-round picks, and 2 sixth-rounders. So they've got a lot of picks to maybe try and move up in the draft, right? If you wanted to bundle like all 3 of those 5s to get into round 3 maybe, or late early round 4, that could be something that Sean Payton pursues. But I do think Denver has a lot of picks here to play with. So without further ado, let's jump into my mock draft. With the 12th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, I'm selecting edge rusher out of Florida State, Jared Verse. Now, keep in mind, your favorite player may not be available at every single selection, and I'm making picks that have some level of combination of what I think Sean Payton would do, because that's who's making this call here, and what I think the Broncos most likely would trend towards position-wise, which is why I landed on Jared Verse. So he's 6'4", 254 pounds, a very athletic guy, 4.58 40-yard dash. Not the best we've ever seen from the combine or even this draft class, but there's definitely a lot of slower linebackers or outside linebackers / edge rushers out there. Production level, they are back-to-back 9-sack seasons, also 2-time first-team All-ACC player. He started his career off at Albany with the Great Danes, then got brought up to Tallahassee, where he really flourished, right? He was a very productive player, and what I like a lot about Jared Verse's game is he plays hard all game long. And if you think about the trend that NFL defenses are going towards, you're seeing a lot of nickel defense. So when you look at the Broncos front 5 right now, where would Jared Verse fit? I mean, you could put him where Jonathan Harris's spot was. Remains to be seen whether or not he'd be a down lineman in a 3-4 defense, or if they put him as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense. That would be up to Sean Payton and the rest of this coaching staff to figure out. But for me, I'm thinking about what defenses do we commonly see right now in the NFL? Nickel. What's nickel defense, Brett Favre asks? Well, it's when you take a linebacker off the field and you put an extra DB on. So if you're going to have an extra DB on the field and not an extra linebacker, you're going to need your defensive lineman to generate a little bit more pop and buzz when it comes to stopping the run, because there's not that third linebacker there to make that stop. So with that direction in mind, I think Jared Verse, who plays hard, high motor, high football IQ, never takes a play off, isn't looking to just load up his tank to get after a quarterback. He wants to tackle whoever has the football, would be a great fit for any defense that really values run-stopping defensive end edge rushers. And ultimately, Denver just needs some help when it comes to the pass rush and the trenches altogether. They've got some good pieces, but they're still looking for that long-term, clear-cut number 1 quarterback pass rusher, and that could be Jared Verse. So what position should the Broncos draft first? J.J. McCarthy was gone at this point. I'll add that right now. Dallas Turner was gone, so I went with Jared Verse, but let me know what position you feel like is the biggest need for Denver to use their 12th overall pick on. No second-round pick. That belongs to the Saints. But with pick number 76 in round number 3, surprise, surprise, I go quarterback here. I go Bo Nix out of Oregon. Now, I know what all of you are thinking right now. Before you close out of this video, yes, I did get Bo Nix in round number 3. And let me explain how that's possible before you all say, Bo Nix would never fall that far in the draft. Let's just take a stroll together down memory lane and look at some mock drafts from this time last year. And you will see that even some of the brightest minds in mock drafts can be very wrong. Mel Kiper had Will Levis going 3rd overall. He fell to round 2. Dane Brugler had Will Levis going 7th overall. fell to round 2. Are you noticing a trend? These NFL draft experts, which we rely on to get a good sense of where players are supposed to go, tend to inflate the quarterback position. Okay, look at 2022. Malik Willis went second overall by Chad Reuter's estimations. Malik Willis wasn't even the second quarterback taken in this year's draft. He went in round 3. So every single year, these mock draft gurus feed us on a silver platter quarterbacks in round 1. Why do they do it? Because they need to generate interest in the draft and in mock draft. They know that they are in a spring break type of business where they are very seasonal. And the day the draft ends, they are out of commission until next January pretty much. And I think Bo Nix is this year's recipient of getting a lot of buzz to go round 1 when no one in the NFL league circles actually thinks that, which is why he's available at pick 76. Now, I like parts of Bo Nix's game. Do I think Bo Nix is this standout quarterback? No. To be honest with you guys, I don't actually. The pro I've got for Nix is excellent pocket presence and mobility and decision making. Those are definitely things that I think Sean Payton would value in a quarterback, trying to recreate his next Drew Brees in some ways. Now, the con I've got for him is he's a check down Charlie, and I'll expand on that in more in just a moment here. But when it comes to the overall selection of Bo Nix, I think it's worth a day 2 pick. I think throwing a dart at the board in the 3rd round of the draft at a quarterback when you need a quarterback is worth the gamble. If Bo Nix sucks, you're out a 3rd rounder. That really shouldn't set your franchise back. Whereas if you take Bo Nix in round 1 and he sucks, that could be a problem, right? But for me, round number 3, QB needy team, I'm okay with taking pretty much any quarterback if the Broncos feel like he's a good quarterback, because the reward to risk ratio, it's just too hard to pass on. Now, remember earlier when I said Bo Nix was a check down Charlie? We shared this graphic a few weeks ago on the channel, but I want to remind everyone about it. These are all from Pro Football Focus, and they charted Bo Nix's passes last season. 27% of them came from behind, or went to players behind the line of scrimmage. In fact, if you combine behind the line of scrimmage and within 0 to 9 yards, it made up 2/3 of his passes. 2 out of every 3 passes didn't even get to the first down marker. That's not something that's going to translate well to the NFL when you have to make downfield passes. So yes, give Nix credit for taking what the defense gives him, right? And not forcing an issue or anything like that. And those are good traits to have. But for me, I don't have a big enough body of work to know, can Nix really make all the passes you want down the field? When you are in a crunch time scenario, it's 3rd and long, game's on the line. Can he deliver a strike over the middle of the field? He wasn't asked to do that a whole lot at Oregon, which is why I don't think the Broncos should take a 1st-round pick on Bo Nix. But I think when Bo Nix most likely goes in day 2 of the draft, I'm okay with seeing, well, maybe he can make those throws. He just never got the chance to do that at Oregon. I mean, we've seen that right now sort of with Justin Herbert, right? It wasn't the apples-to-apples type of offenses these 2 quarterbacks ran, but Justin Herbert, when allowed to expand the playbook a little bit more, is showing he can make all those throws. He just wasn't asked to do it in Eugene. So will the same be true for Nix? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm willing to bet a 3rd-round pick on the upside. If it doesn't work out, I'm out pick number 76. Say la vie. Now, yesterday or a few days ago, I don't remember this point, we said, hey, or I said, if we can get to 21,000 subscribers, I'm going to come up with 21 reasons to be optimistic for the 2024 Broncos. And sure enough, you guys answered the call. Appreciate everyone supporting the channel, joining us here at the Broncos Breakdown. It really does mean a lot. I know I'm kind of getting in my feels, but reaching 21,000 subscribers is an awesome milestone. No plans of slowing down. So stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'll give you those 21 reasons to be optimistic for 2024. Moving along here, no other round picks in day 2 of the draft, or no other picks in day 2 of the draft. So in round number 4, 121, I go defensive tackle out of Miami, Leonard Taylor. Now, Taylor, in my eyes, is not one of the best defensive linemen in this draft. But when I'm looking at Denver's defensive line, it needs some help. And I have been saying this for a long time. Jones is the best player on this unit outside of like Zach Allen, but he's really there to get the quarterback. And DJ Jones sucked last year, and he's the best. There has to be improvements made at this spot here. But with Denver not having a second rounder and them going with Jared Verse in round 1, when it comes to true run-stopping, tree stump nose tackles, I think they wait till day 3 of the draft and they go with Leonard Taylor. I think this is a bit of a project pick. I don't think Leonard Taylor is going to step into an NFL locker room or onto an NFL field anywhere close to where he needs to be to play at a high level, right? This is something Vance Joseph is going to have to work on throughout the course of the season. And we saw a lot of patience last year from Denver in this department, right? They did not toss Riley Moss into the fire. They waited on a lot of their young guys. I think they may do the same here with Leonard Taylor. Moving on to round number 5, a flurry of round 5 picks. I'm going to go wide receiver now, Malik Washington. After all, this is a video about mock draft after trading Jerry Jeudy. We should probably draft a wide receiver. So let's talk about Malik Washington out of Virginia. Originally started his career at Northwestern, then the grad transfer went to Charlottesville. 5'8", 191 pounds, speedy dude, 4.47 40-yard dash. The pro, just dominant in the slot. I understand he may not have always played against the best DBs and whatnot, but man, Malik Washington, put the tape on and you come away as a big fan of Malik Washington. 10 games of 100-plus receiving yards. Now, the con for him is it's a bit of a limited route tree. What does that mean? Well, in college football, sometimes teams can do what's best for them and not what's best for the players going to the NFL, and they'll keep it very simple, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So for Malik Washington, the very simple thing was, oh, you win this route a lot, let's just keep doing that route all over again. And when you get to the NFL, you've got to be able to run more than just 1 or 2 routes. So that's something that Washington will have to add to his game. But the more I watch, the more I like. And when I look at Denver's wide receiver room, you've got Sutton, Mims, and Patrick, and I think there is room to grow. I don't think this is the worst wide receiver room in the NFL, but I do think it's a room that could use a little bit of some water and sunshine added to it. So I think Malik Washington in round 5 would be an excellent pick for Denver. Now, before we get on to the rest of my mock draft, a few days ago, a week ago at this point actually, I told you all how Fanatics was doing a deal where you could pick any jersey. You could put your own name on the back, you could pick any player's name you want, and they had it on sale. Well, now they've got like a double sale. It's down to $81. I'm never going to see an NFL jersey for $81, and I don't think you will either. So go to chatsports.com/DEN jersey, get a Patrick Surtain jersey, get whatever jersey you want. I put that link for all of you because I love you in the comments and description of today's video. With pick 145 in round 5, I'm going to go cornerback now, Kalen King out of Penn State. I don't like how long I waited to get corner, but sometimes mock drafts just don't go the way you want them to go, and the players you were hoping to be available aren't available. So ultimately, we had to hit pause on corner. Now, some background on King. 5'11", 191 pounds. The issue with him is he played so well in 2022, he set the bar pretty high for himself, and then he came nowhere near that this past season. He went from 15 pass breakups and 3 interceptions 2 years ago to 2 pass breakups and 0 interceptions last season. So is 2022 a fluke, or can a coaching staff find that play in him? In my experience, coaches tend to be a bit egotistical. And they are big believers in, I can coach a player up. I can take him, get my hands on him, and mold him to be a perfect football player. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Sean Payton or Vance Joseph look at Kalen King and go, there's some potential in there. And I'm going to be the coach that gets it out of you. So that's why I think you could see a guy like King later in the draft fall to Denver. With the 3rd pick in round number 5, the Broncos have, after trading Jerry Jeudy, they go linebacker in this mock draft out of UNC, Cedric Gray. He's 6'1", 234 pounds, and he just filled up the stat sheet at UNC last year. 5 sacks, 1 interception, 11 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and a whole bunch of awesome stats that really solidified him as one of the better defenders in the ACC. But there are questions about what his fit is in the NFL. Is he an inside linebacker, right? Is he someone that can stand next to Alex Singleton for every single snap of a game? Or is he more of an outside linebacker, and maybe he joins the Cooper, Browning, and Bonito rotation? We have seen Denver take guys like Browning, like Sanders, and then move them to an outside linebacker role. Wouldn't be shocked to see if they do something similar with Cedric Gray. Moving on, round number 6, 203. I go running back now, Isaac Guerendo. I just like Isaac Guerendo too much as a prospect to pass on him when he's available this late in the draft. If you're unfamiliar with Guerendo, I think he's going to be one of the most, take a shot every time you hear a YouTuber say his name as a sleeper in this year's draft. He's just that popular right now. 6 foot, 221 pounds. He's got some meat on his bones. And he still ran a 4.33 40-yard dash. Now, he started his career off at Wisconsin, never really established himself as an RB1. Transfers to Louisville for one final season, becomes their clear-cut dominant running back, and he flourishes. He goes for 800 yards, big play machine. He had over 6 yards a carry, if I remember correctly. And I'm looking at Denver's running back room, and I just don't quite know what to make of it, right? Is Javonte Williams going to ever really get back to his pre-injury form? Is highlight reel Jaleel a player that can play all 3 downs? Is Samaje Perine anything more than a receiving back at this stage of his career? I think this running back by committee approach can, suffice for 2024, but I wouldn't be shocked if Denver looks at Guerendo and goes, well, that's a guy who doesn't have too much tread on his tires because he didn't play a lot in college, which could be a bit of a pro and a con because he's not going to come to the NFL with bad knees already. Sorry, bad time for hiccup. But maybe we decide to roll the dice on him in round number 3, and he can be someone that joins this committee and maybe even emerges from this committee as one of the better backs. So, speaking of Javonte Williams, how would you scale your confidence in him? Right, pretty good rookie season altogether. Split carries with Melvin Gordon down the middle, essentially. And then, unfortunately, 2022 suffers an injury in Las Vegas. Makes a miraculous recovery in 2023, ready to roll by training camp. But he left us wanting more last season. I think that was a product of him, I wouldn't say returning too quickly from the injury, but him just not being at full speed yet. But a full year later, plus a contract year, I feel like we might get some good play out of Pookie Williams. To round out this mock draft, no one really cares what I do in pick 207, so I went offensive line, Nathan Thomas. I was just kind of looking at the draft board thinking, what's a position of need for Denver at this stage? And I looked at their offensive line, and I'm looking for depth. And I always think you can never have too many good depth pieces in the trenches on offensive line and defensive line. There is nothing worse than seeing a season go down the toilet because a team loses their offensive line and the backup suck. There's also nothing worse than the team's defensive line not being able to get a stop and get the ball back for their offense because they're gassed or they're shorthanded. I love resupplying the trenches in the draft. So, to revisit my mock draft, I went Jared Verse out of Florida State at pick number 12. I don't think Bo Nix goes round 1. I think he could fall all the way to Denver and pick round number 3. I go Leonard Taylor from Miami in round 4. Big fan of the Malik Washington pick. Remember that name in round number 5. Kalen King from Penn State in round 5 along with Cedric Gray. Then running back Isaac Guerendo and offensive tackle Nathan Thomas out of Louisiana, the Raging Cajun. So grade my Broncos mock draft for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Give me your worst. Let me know in the comment section how bad this mock draft was. The funny thing about people that hate mock drafts is any mock draft, they always say, can't believe you picked that guy. I would have picked that guy. You know that there's 31 other teams picking, right? And maybe your guy wasn't available when I was on the clock. So with that being said, I did tease you earlier that I have 21 reasons to be optimistic for 2024. And I'm going to count down from 21 all the way to 1 over various episodes of the show. So, reason number 21, good depth at wide receiver. I'm a sucker for Brandon Johnson and Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think you compare them to a lot of other teams' wide receivers 4 and 5, and they've got much better production, a lot more confidence from their coaching staff. So, all in all, I think there's good depth at the wide receiver position. Number 20, It's a contract year for Javonte Williams. We all know what happens to players in contracts. Look at Lloyd Cushenberry last year. He sucked eggs the first 3 years of his career, and now he became the highest paid center in NFL free agency history. I'm sensing that a contract year for Pookie Williams, 2 years removed from his knee injury, he may be putting together the best year of his NFL career yet. Number 19. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not the greatest offensive line in the NFL. I think it's an average offensive line. I think if you look at the stars on this line, Garrett Bowles is an above-average left tackle. Quinn Miners is one of the ascending interior linemen in this game, and if he was on a team that was playing in the playoffs, he'd probably have a little bit more name recognition, but Broncos country knows how good he is. Mike McGlinchey is probably, well, now that Cushenberry's gone, maybe it's Luke Wattenberg or Alex Forsyth, but if Mike McGlinchey is your worst offensive lineman, sure, that's a kind of a, tough pill to swallow given how much he's being paid, but you're probably doing pretty well compared to other teams at the offensive line spot. Reason number 18, it's a young pass rushing unit. I've long said that Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, and Nick Bonito, they form a really good linebacker, outside linebacker, pass rushing core. Is it the best in the NFL? Is it top 5? No, it's not. But it's not top 10. And I think there's only room to grow as Bonito took a big step forward in year 2. Baron Browning, unfortunately, missed the first quarter of last year, but if he comes into 2024 healthy, Jonathan Cooper's getting better by the game, it looks like sometimes. There's reason to believe those 3 guys, toss in Jared Verse, and that's going to be a really sneaky good edge rushing unit. And then number 17, got 3 fifth-rounders. It's just fun to have draft picks. It's way more fun to have draft picks than not have draft picks. Big analysis from your host right there. So having 3 fifth-rounders, you can use those picks to try and trade up in the draft. You can stockpile more picks, whatever it may be. But having 3 fifths, that's not going to a poker table with pocket aces. But you got pocket 8s, right? There's better cards. But, I'll match the ante. I'll play with pocket 8s. So we'll continue unveiling the other reasons to be optimistic on future episodes. So make sure you stick around and watch all the way to the end of the video too.